In a dilapidated house, where the windows are tightly sealed, 7-year-old Chloe is about to peek outside. She notices that a bird outside is flouncing midair, as if time has stopped, just as she's filled with curiosity. Her father, Henry, yanks her back and hastily pulls the curtains shut. It's clear they're hiding from something. Henry warns Chloe that the outside world is extremely dangerous, repeatedly stressing that she must never go outside or let herself be seen. According to Henry, Chloe's mother died when she was very young, leaving the father and daughter to depend on each other. He makes Chloe memorize a fake identity every day, in case they ever face an emergency. But why are they so cautious? Could it be that the world outside is truly full of dangers? Inside the house, things are equally unsettling. Sometimes, Chloe sees a ghostly woman trapped in the storage room, which terrifies her into screaming. Yet, when Henry comes to check and opens the door, there's nothing there. At other times, one of Henry's eyes bleeds, even though he hasn't been injured. One day, Chloe wakes up groggily to find a book slipped under the door. She picks it up and notices that the ice cream truck depicted in the book is identical to the one she sees outside. The neighbor girl is buying ice cream. Being only 7 years old, Chloe can't resist the temptation of ice cream. She starts chanting, "Buy me one, buy me one, buy me one," over and over again. To her amazement, the neighbor girl seems to hear her and actually brings an ice cream cone over. Unfortunately, just as Chloe is about to reach for it, her father catches her and drags her back inside, locking her in a dark room as punishment for disobeying him. As night falls, something strange happens. The neighbor girl who gave Chloe the ice cream earlier suddenly appears in the dark room where Chloe has been locked. The two of them start chatting and laughing together. Chloe is envious that the neighbor girl has a mother who loves her, and she repeatedly asks the girl to be her mother. After a few requests, the girl, almost as if brainwashed, agrees and pulls Chloe into a warm embrace. It becomes clear that Chloe has a special ability. Whatever she repeatedly wishes for, she can make others do. The next day, Henry plans to go out and buy some groceries. He promises Chloe that he'll bring her back some ice cream as a way to make up for the tension between them. He only asks Chloe to promise never to leave the house again. However, not long after he leaves, Henry returns, covered in blood, as if someone had tried to kill him. There's no ice cream, and Chloe is deeply disappointed. Taking advantage of Henry's sleep, Chloe decides to leave the house on her own, taking some money with her. Being her first time outside, Chloe is filled with curiosity about everything around her. The streets are clean, the weather is beautiful, and nothing seems as dangerous as Henry had described. The old man selling ice cream, Alan, is kind and even offers to take her to the park. As Chloe enjoys her ice cream, she gazes out at the world she's never seen before, feeling completely happy and noticing nothing unusual. As the car drives along, a huge warning sign suddenly flashes before Chloe's eyes. It reads, "Report anyone seen with bleeding eyes." Henry has that exact condition, but why would anyone want to arrest them? When Chloe and Alan arrive at the park, the oppressive atmosphere of home seems far away, and Chloe feels at ease. She starts to swing on the swing set, but Alan pushes her unusually hard, as if testing her. Chloe is scared and screams loudly, attracting the attention of a nearby police officers. At this point, Alan tells Chloe that the police are bad and that they will shoot her. Chloe believes him and instinctively starts chanting at the officers, "Go away, go away, go away." Amazingly, the officer's eyes glaze over as if under a spell. He slowly lowers his gun and, in a daze, turns and leaves the park, just as Chloe had commanded. Alan is thrilled and praises Chloe's incredible ability, showing no surprise at all. But who is he really? On the drive back, Alan reveals the truth. He is Chloe's grandfather. They belong to a small fraction of people on Earth who possess extraordinary abilities. But instead of being revered, they are labeled as freaks by the rest of humanity. Ordinary people feel immensely threatened by their powers and have decided to take extreme measures by forcing them into specially designated containment zones. These zones are presented as places where the gifted come live peacefully, but the reality is much darker. Once inside, no one ever hears from them again. Humanity is relentlessly hunting them down. Chloe's grandfather, Alan, and her mother, Mary, were involved in a mission to rescue their fellow gifted people, but Mary was captured and has been missing ever since. Alan's unwavering purpose has been to find Chloe and, together, rescue Marie, Chloe's mother. Upon hearing this, Chloe realizes that her mother isn't dead after all, and begins to feel resentment toward Henry. She says, the outside world isn't as scary as you made it out to be. She wants to go out to find her mother, and this leads to yet another argument between her and Henry. Chloe, heartbroken, looks at the photo of her mother that Alan gave her. She recognizes the face as the same woman she once saw as a ghost. Trapped in the storage room, Chloe has a second ability. Besides influencing people's thoughts, she can also see images in her mind. Chloe is determined to go outside, but Henry, without properly explaining anything, keeps insisting that the world is too dangerous and forbids her from leaving the house. Chloe can't take it anymore. She decides to use the sleeping pills Alan gave her to knock Henry out so she can escape. However, she didn't clean the powder off the cup properly, and Henry notices it. In that tense moment, Chloe desperately shouts at Henry, "Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep." And just like that, Henry falls asleep on the spot. With Henry now asleep, Chloe leaves the house without looking back. She meets Alan, who is waiting for her outside. This time, Alan plans to take Chloe to a restaurant to meet with a female agent. This agent has always opposed killing minor superhumans. However, her real agenda is to send them to the containment zones, where she intends to train these individuals with special abilities to become weapons. Alan is disguised as a priest and claims that Chloe is a superhuman orphan he has adopted, hoping the agent will help them enter the containment zone. He plans to go in as her guardian, so he can take care of and educate Chloe while secretly rescuing those trapped inside. The conversation between Alan and the agent starts off well, but Chloe begins to feel uneasy as they frequently use the term freak, which makes her increasingly uncomfortable with the agent. Sensing something is off, the agent grows suspicious and starts asking Chloe questions. Chloe begins reciting the false identity Henry had drilled into her, which only heightens the agent's suspicions. After all, Chloe was just introduced as an orphan, yet now she's effortlessly reciting her parents' names and home address. Something doesn't add up, and the agent realizes there's a problem with this priest. Alan starts to panic, realizing they're in danger. He scolds Chloe for messing up, but it's too late. The agent calls for backup. Desperate to avoid capture, Alan frantically searches for Chloe. In a moment of panic, he uses a pin to blind a chef who had witnessed them, then activates his invisibility power to escape with Chloe. The unlucky chef, now bleeding from his eyes, a hallmark of superhumans, is shot dead by the police before he can even explain himself. On the way back, a now awake Henry suddenly appears and grabs Chloe, hoisting her over his shoulder to take her back home. But Chloe, with her mind control abilities, isn't one to be easily controlled. She starts repeating to Henry, "Let me go, let me go, let me go." As they struggle, a car suddenly speeds towards Chloe. Reacting quickly, Henry activates his superpower. Time slows to a crawl, almost freezing. It turns out Henry's ability is to manipulate time, creating a protective bubble around himself and his house, freezing the outside world. This has kept them hidden from the authorities for years, allowing Chloe to grow up safely. However, when Henry sleeps, the time bubble dissipates, which is why the outside world continues to move and why Mary, Chloe's mother, hasn't actually been captured for as long as it seems. Using his powers comes at a cost. Henry's eyes bleed, explaining his earlier episodes and why the birds outside were eerily still. After this incident, Henry realizes that he can't keep Chloe locked up forever. He decides to take her to the neighbor's house, offering them a large sum of money each month to care for Chloe and provide her with the warmth of a family. Seeing the money, the neighbor's husband agrees to Henry's request. However, the neighbor's daughter objects. She remembers that Chloe has used her powers to control her twice before, and this unsettles her. The neighbor's wife also starts to have doubts. As the argument escalates, Chloe begins chanting at the wife, commanding her to love her. The wife, as if under a spell, hugs Chloe tightly, but then blood starts to trickle from Chloe's eyes, revealing her true nature. The neighbors, now terrified, immediately kick them out. Defeated, Henry and Chloe return home. Chloe once again sees a vision of her mother, Mary. Just as Mary embraces Chloe, a guard suddenly bursts in and violently drags Mary away, as if preparing to inject her with a lethal substance. Chloe, on the verge of tears, watches in horror. Meanwhile, downstairs, Henry, now convinced that Mary is still alive, finds himself in a heated argument with Alan, who insists they team up to rescue Mary, but Henry refuses to let his daughter take any risks, leading to a fierce confrontation. Chloe realizes something is wrong. Neighbors seem to have called the police. She can't see officers approaching the house. In a panic, she uses her powers from across the street, forcing a police officers to gouge out the neighbor woman's eyes and then shoot himself. When the other officers hear the gunshots and rush in, they see the bleeding woman and her dead colleague and immediately shoot her, assuming she was responsible. Meanwhile, Mary is still in grave danger, and Chloe urgently uses her powers once more. A doctor is about to inject Mary with poison, but Chloe's command forces him to kill himself instead. She then controls a nearby guard to untie her mother and help her escape. Just as Mary is about to break free, the female agent from earlier that day arrives at Chloe's house. With no other options, Henry devises a plan to deceive the agent, hoping to buy time. However, the house is in disarray, with signs of a child's scribbles everywhere, hardly the appearance of a normal home. The agent quickly sees through the ruse. She confronts Henry, saying, "Let's not waste time. I can smell the chemicals you used to wash the blood off your face. Your wife's name is Mary, isn't it?" She reveals that there's a drone hovering above the house, armed with a Hellfire missile. If Henry kills her, the house will be destroyed in 60 seconds. Or he could cooperate and help her train Chloe into a weapon. Henry listens silently, trying to buy more time for his daughter upstairs, who is still trying to save Mary. Meanwhile, Alan, now invisible, seeks up and steals the agent's weapon, pointing it at her. But Henry doesn't want to kill anyone and tries to convince Alan to stand down. Upstairs, Chloe's attempt to save Mary is discovered. Alarms blare, and the female agent downstairs hears them too. She quickly fires a shot, hitting Henry. She rushes upstairs to finish Chloe off, but the bullet stops midair, blocked by Alan, who is still invisible. Furious, Chloe unleashes her full power, forcing the agent to shoot herself in the head. Hearing the gunshot, the police outside demand an explanation. Henry uses the agent's radio to negotiate, telling them, "We've captured a female agent, don't do anything rash." His goal is to buy more time for Chloe to save her mother. But there's a catch. If Henry activates his time-stopping ability, Mary won't be able to escape. If he doesn't, the police will storm the house. In this desperate situation, Chloe simultaneously uses her powers to make the police officers turn their guns on each other while also opening the final locked door of the underground facility where Mary is held. Finally, Mary escapes, only to be confronted by a squad of heavily armed police. But Mary isn't defenseless, takes off into the sky, leaving a trail of explosions in her wake. Meanwhile, the missile draws closer. With his last ounce of strength, Henry activates his power one final time. He grabs Chloe, and just moments before the explosion, they make a run for the door. Ultimately, Henry succumbs to his injuries and dies, but Chloe remains hidden in the rubble as the police search for her. At the last moment, Mary arrives, her path of destruction leaving nothing but devastation behind. The mother and daughter are finally reunited. They vow never to live in hiding again. From now on, they will live as they please, and if anyone dares to come after them, they won't hold back. With that, they embrace and soar into the sky.